Hey guys, Desolator Magic here, and it is way overdue for me to make this video because a lot of people have never heard of this, believe it or not. There is a certain list made by Mark Rosewater starting in 2016 called the Storm Scale. It is a list of every single mechanic ever printed in the entire game, some of which are keywords, but some of which are more generic stuff like -1 counters. And each of them have been assigned a number. Now it goes from level 1 to level 10. So what does it mean? Well, the number corresponds with the likelihood of it being printed again on a brand new card. Or I suppose it could include reprints, but basically just the mechanic being included in a future standard product. So 1 is actually the most likely, or as Mark put it, we will definitely see this mechanic again, most likely in the next set. And then, level 2 is we will definitely see it again, but not necessarily right away in the next set. Level 3 is we will most likely see it again probably many times. And then level 4, we'll see it again, but there are issues that make it a little bit less of a guarantee. Level 5, which is right in the middle, of course. We need to find the right place to bring it back, but he's optimistic. Level 6, same thing, but he's not quite as optimistic. Like, they do want to bring it back, but yeah, we'll see. And then level 7, it is unlikely to return. So anything 7 and up, not really the first thing they'll look at, to say the least. So with 7, it's unlikely to return, but possible if the right environment comes along. So they wouldn't go out of their way to bring it back, but it might accidentally be the most appropriate thing to add to a block to balance things out. And then 8 is it's unlikely to return, but if the stars align, so even less likely than 7, basically. I mean, I don't really have a way to compare them. And then 9. I never say never, but this would require a minor miracle, and as you probably suspected, 10. I never say never, but this would require a major miracle. So 10 is pretty much it's not going to happen, and honestly 9 is it's not going to happen, but it's not as bad as the ones in 10. So what is the number 1 least likely to return mechanic? Well, you're probably thinking, but Des, I'm sure more than one are rated 10, right? So how can you just say that there's one mechanic that's absolutely the highest on the list? That's because there's one that's rated 11. So in this video, I'm just going to focus on the mechanics that are never coming back ever. I would dare say that 9 and 10 and certainly 11 are just not going to happen. I mean, I'll tell you right now, one of the 10s is ante, okay? There are like federal laws about why ante is not coming back. Kind of makes you wonder how something got an 11, doesn't it? That would be bands with other. Bands with other is quite possibly the most confusing mechanic ever printed in the entire game. I mean, I would debate that, but Mark seems to think that. 11 though, I mean, they did have meld. I'm just saying. Shadows block, it's literally melds with. I mean, it works differently and it was straightforward and people knew how it worked, but I'm just saying it's not that dissimilar. So we might as well throw up one of the number 10s, which is banding. That's just in general, hey, it has banding. So the official reminder text for banding is: any creatures with banding and up to 1 without can attack in a band. Bands are blockable as a group. If any creatures with banding you control are blocked or being blocked by a creature, you can divide that creature's combat damage, not its controller. Wait, what? I think they've already lost me. Among any of the creatures it's being blocked by or is blocking. Okay. I read that, and then I read like the entire Gamepedia article about it, and I still don't understand how it works, so they've got a point there. It looks so neat, and they printed it, I believe, in alpha, but like, wow. It's a real gem. It is confusing. So as I alluded to before, one of the other rated 10 mechanics is ante. It's basically, I'm sure I'm going to massacre this, but it basically, at the start of the game, I believe you flip up the top card of your library, and that is on the line. So you're both betting whatever random card you've got, I guess. I assume it couldn't be a basic land. I don't know, there's 9,000 rules about it, I'm not going to get into it, but basically the winner gets both cards. So you win your opponent's card if you win the game. And ante was part of the game. It wasn't even, like, really a mechanic, it was the rules of the game. It's how Magic worked, so because of, cash value gambling, underage gambling, and all kinds of things in all kinds of countries, ante's not coming back. I mean, honestly, that's all you really need to say about ante. Next on the list is artifact lands. You're probably thinking, what do you mean artifact lands? Yeah, just lands that are artifacts. What's so bad about that, right? Oh, all 5 of them had to be banned from Standard. That's what's so bad about them. They're also banned from Modern. Strangely, they're actually legal in Legacy. I did not know that. They were almost single-handedly responsible for ruining Standard and ruining the entire game at the time. So yeah, they're not coming back. So that might not sound that bad. I mean, it's like, oh, artifact lands, so what? I mean, somebody might naturalize my lands now, whoops. And the whole point was, oh, let me get my artifact count up really quickly by making some of the lands artifacts. So you add a benefit, you add a weakness. Perfectly fair mechanic, right? No. As it turns out, this never should have gotten through playtesting. You can get your artifact count way too high, way too quickly. If they ever printed any kind of artifact land again, they would have to pre-ban it from Modern. So I don't think they're going to. Now, next up on the list is chroma. And you might be thinking, what the heck is chroma? Hey, I had to look it up myself. The only reason that chroma is a 10 is because it was completely replaced by devotion. And as far as I know, it's indistinguishable from it. It is literally the same mechanic. So that actually doesn't make sense to give it a 10 because devotion was like your devotion to that god on Theros. So if they want to bring back devotion without going back to Theros, they're probably going to have to call it something else, like chroma, for example. So I don't agree with that one being 10 at all. So next up on the list is Dredge. If you're about to say, oh, but I like Dredge, my Dredge deck is so fun, oh, my friend plays it and it looks interesting. No, you're wrong. Hey guys, I just came from the Chinese buffet and I opened a fortune cookie and it said, when Mark Rosewater and Desolator Magic both agree on something, watch the hell out because it's 100% true. It was really small font. They fit it all on there. Here's a quote from Mark Rosewater about why it's rated 10. It's one of the most broken mechanics we've ever made, so I have no expectation we'll ever see it again. Oh boy, I sure hope that quote doesn't ever get back to the creator of Dredge, Mark Rosewater. Okay, the full quote is actually, Dredge is one of my mechanics. I'll be honest, I have a soft spot for it. I like things that attack the game from a very different vantage point. And that is true. I mean, you know what Dredge does. I mean, it's obviously, there's an example card up on the screen. But it's such a different way to play Magic, and then it interacts with other things, especially in like Modern, Legacy, etc. And it just goes straight to crap, because it's not meant to work with really anything outside of the block it was in. Not following the very, very basic tenets of Magic is the fastest way to just screw stuff up. In my opinion, every card with the Dredge mechanic should be banned from every single format. I hate Dredge. I hate the way it works. It doesn't even resemble Magic. It's a waste of everybody's time, and I hate it. So next up, we've got Fear. This one is another one that's on the list just for functional reasons. It's been replaced by Intimidate. I mean, it's really that simple. Fear was only a black creature or artifact can block this creature if it has Fear. And then Intimidate was only a creature of the same color or an artifact can block this creature. So very subtle change. I think it was an improvement. So yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, get rid of Fear. Intimidate all the way, I guess. The next mechanic rated 10 on this list is Intimidate. Believe it or not, this actually has a 10 for a real reason. Mark Rosewater has said it has too high of variance. And that's the only reason why he never wants to see it again and why he gave it a 10. I mean, I'd expect it to have maybe a 7. I mean, geez. I mean, they have said on multiple occasions, people from Wizards have said this, that they're getting rid of, oh, I'm going to have a massive advantage or massive disadvantage just solely based on who I got paired up against at F&M. That's just stupid. Just who I sat down against and what deck they're running, that's whether this card does nothing or does something. So Intimidate, either it's unblockable or it's not, and it's basically random chance. So yes, too high a variance, that is correct. But still, 10? I mean, give it like an 8 or something. I mean, geez, like protection from color isn't even on here. That is not even arguably worse. It's worse. Period. Next on the list is flip cards. That's right, they gave flip cards a 10. Unfortunately, it's not the flip cards you're thinking of, which are coincidentally also called flip cards. No, we're talking about these awful atrocities, one of which I have as an example up on screen right now. Depending upon which direction it's facing, that's its state. Wow, I guess R&D and playtesting didn't realize that everything is backwards from your opponent's point of view. Everything is upside down from where they're sitting. That could be a little bit confusing. And yes, it was confusing, especially if your cards were curling. So definitely not bringing back flip cards now. Ayo. But they have been replaced by actual flip cards, like the ones where they're printed on both sides, which are obviously a massive pain. They ruin draft because you can see what they're drawing, or somebody has to open the packs and pre-sleeve them. I heard that that's what they were going to do about it. Never checked if they followed up on it. I mean, it was so poorly received the first time, I can't believe they brought it back. And then they brought it back again for just one card in M19. The stupidity is beyond words. So I wish all flip cards would have a 10. I mean, I don't know that they're not referring to it, but they literally just reprinted it again. So I'm going to guess it has like a 2 instead of a 10. But yeah, I certainly never want to see them again. So either of them really, but the Kamigawa ones were a nightmare. So next up we've got Gotcha. The reason this is on the list is because it's a mechanic from one of the unsets. Now considering they made another unset, I mean maybe 10 is a little harsh, but I mean I really don't see it coming back, especially in Standard. I think this is all the context of Standard, so yes, it would be a 10 in Standard. They're not going to bring Gotcha into Standard. Sorry guys. So the second to last entry on this list of 10 rated mechanics is slivers. I am not kidding. Okay, I'm partially kidding. I hate slivers. Slivers are a disease and I hope they never print them again. Unfortunately, I do believe that slivers, the way you're thinking of, is rated a 2. Yes, I said 2, the number between 1 and 3. Although that entry, I'm not sure they were referring to slivers specifically as much as just like tribal, but not the mechanic called tribal, so whatever. That's for a different video. What they're talking about specifically with this entry is symmetrical slivers. So way back in the day, I believe it was the first run of slivers. Might be wrong here though, but it was early, I know that. All slivers that said, oh, all other slivers get flying, all other slivers get whatever, you know, unblockable, indestructible, who knows. It quite literally said all other slivers. So if your opponent was running slivers, you just boosted them. So the more recent slivers say that you control. So symmetrical slivers never coming back. Now you're probably thinking, yeah, but that adds like a dynamic and it punishes people for mirror matches. Well, I mean, honestly, I have no problem with net deckers getting punished for mirror matches. But as he put it, the sliver change was just us lining up with how all other cards with similar effects work. So, you know, duh. But also, occasionally helping your opponent was a little bit unintuitive, as he put it. And now this is why it gets really serious, because it was actually making people not buy the cards, not buy the set, and not build that deck. Mark had said that it was just too unreliable. Like, you never knew if you were going to get just blown up in a game because you're both running slivers. Or maybe they're running partial slivers and you're running all slivers. You're going to have a problem. I mean, technically, you're both going to have a problem, which is why it doesn't seem like that big of a problem, but things can get really out of control really quickly. Like, the power level will just soar, and the game will just basically get completely bonkers. So not knowing if your deck's going to play perfectly, like you're practically in a vacuum, or, oh my gosh, we're each boosting each other, what just happened? It just made people not build slivers, which, oh no, it made people not build slivers? How terrible. I hope slivers never come back, personally. But just mechanics that do that, they're done having your stuff benefit the player unless, like, that's the downside, that's the gimmick. You know, kind of like Master of Feasts, 5/5 flyer for 3, which, holy crap, a 5/5 flyer for 3, are you kidding me? But when you draw a card during your draw step, they draw a card. Oh my gosh, or upkeep, something like that, whatever. So your opponent's outdrawing you 2-1. So assisting your opponent is not new, you know, they're not going to get rid of that mechanic anytime soon, but this particular one, nah, it had to go. So the final entry at number 10 is, of course, Storm. Guys, it's called the Storm scale for a reason, and it's not a coincidence, okay? The Storm mechanic is broken, it's garbage, it's an all-in glass cannon combo. It is the epitome of glass cannonitude. That's a word, look it up. It is one counterspell away from losing the game in some of its forms. And it just builds degenerate decks. It's just stupid. Nobody's like, oh cool, I've got a storm count of 3, I get a little extra bonus. No, it's, I'm going to storm you with a steamroller. I'm going to steam storm you. I don't like the mechanic. I don't like the cards it's on. I don't even like the word Storm. I don't like anything that resembles Storm. I don't like Aetherflux Reservoir. I really don't like anything that involves the number of spells that you cast in a turn. I don't like charge counters. I don't like the Is It Guild. I don't like Storm. Stop printing pseudo Storm in standard sets, Wizards. This has a 10 for a reason. You should never have printed Aetherflux Reservoir. That card was a mistake. The Is It Guild was a mistake, and I hope they all get killed in the war against Nicobolas. In my opinion, Storm should have been banned a long time ago from Modern, especially since it was banned a long time ago in Modern. Look it up, they banned a couple of the mana ramp cards. No joke. Well, it's still around, it still has a 10, and it's still pissing people off, and Wizards still won't do anything about it. Thank God it's gone down in popularity lately. So there are some real gems that are rated 9 as well, like Annihilator, which I think we all know is never coming back ever. But there's like Cypher. Why is Cypher on the list? So I suggest you all go look at the full list of the Storm scale and just see what's on it. It's very interesting, and you might find out some interesting new mechanics that you've never heard of and learn to immediately hate them with a passion. Like just looking at it right now, there's a mechanic rated 9 called Land Home. I have no idea what that is. In 5 years of playing Magic, I have never heard of the mechanic called Land Home. It must be terrible. But for now, that is just the 10 rated mechanics that are never coming back in the game, and if they do, feel free to just print off this list and mail it straight to Wizards of the Coast. So, thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more epic Magic the Gathering content. This is pretty much the ultimate super channel on Magic because I do deck techs, gameplay, some random off-topic stuff, meme edits, news, announcements, changes, bannings. I mean, I cover the Pro Tour occasionally. You can get it all right here, and honestly, I'm one of the bigger channels in case you haven't noticed. And YouTube still says 48% of my viewers in a month are not subscribed. How is that even possible? Well, it also says it's 98% male viewers and us guys fear commitment. So I kind of get that, but you know, how about you start with subscribing and just don't turn notifications on? Small steps, you guys. Small steps. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next video.